Hey, David.
Hey, bud. Love the music.
That's why I said I wanted to do a little something. I didn't just want to go on like that. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on, man. Welcome.
Yeah,
welcome.
absolutely.
I've got my Rob Oren look. Do you know Rob Oren?
I know Rob. Yeah. That's right.
So anyway, how's it going?
It's good.
I'm
sporting my Grognard of the Year colors here.
Those guys, man, I swear. They didn't send me anything.
Oh, wow.
Send me nothing, man. Rats.
That's what you get.
Yeah. And look, we got. I can bring up a conversation like this. Boom. You see? So some people are going to be asking you questions.
Yep.
Hold on, Jeremy. You can't see or hear anything, Jeremy? Jeremy can't see or hear anything. Jeremy, give me a sign on life here. You can hear me, Dave?
I can hear you, yeah.
Jeremy? Oh, well, okay. You know what? Let's go for it. We've been trying to get this conversation happening for a while, but you've been busy with you were at a con not long ago with your new game, Sniper.
Yeah, Sniper Elite. Yeah, that was a PAX Unplugged.
That was PAX Unplugged. How many people attend?
Oh, it's bigger than Origins now. So it's the second biggest game convention in the U.S., I think.
Bigger than Origins. Origins is like what, 50, 60,000 people?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Origins is like 30,000. I don't know. And I mean, I could be wrong, I guess, but it certainly felt bigger, and I'm pretty sure the attendance was higher. So I don't know what it was, but I'm pretty sure it's gotten to be second biggest after Gen Con now.
And how many cons like that have you been to? Like when there's thousands and thousands of people?
Oh, I've been to Essen a lot, probably 4 or 5 times.
That's in Germany. In Germany,
yeah, that's the big one in Germany. Yeah, Nuremberg, which is it's a trade show, right? So it's not a open convention. It's just for industry, which is awesome because it's much quieter. Gen Con, Origins, PAX Unplugged, UK Game Expo, which is awesome. That's in Birmingham in the UK.
How many people go there?
It's about the Origin size, maybe just a little bit smaller, but it's about the same.
Man, so like I went to the only con I've been to was WBC. There was like 3,000 people, man.
Yeah, so it's WBC is tiny compared to these, right?
I don't know if I can handle more though. I don't know, 50,000 people, man.
So Origins doesn't feel packed. They got a ton of space, tons of open gaming. It's not crowded, but Essen and Gen Con are horrible. Like it's just masses of humanity everywhere.
Now, people come back from these cons sick.
Yeah.
What's the story with that?
I guess people just aren't taking care of themselves. Bad hygiene on somebody's part, right? Not washing hands or whatever. Yeah.
Anyways, so you went to PAX and you got a new game coming out called Sniper.
Sniper Elite. Yep.
Now that's what do you call that? An IP license? What do you call that?
Yeah, licensed IP. So it's a little bit strange because it is an IP. It's a video game, but it's because the video game company Rebellion has started their own board game division. So they're not licensing it by anybody. It's their own IP. Oh, that's good.
So Rebellion.
So they're known for Sniper Elite, right?
Sniper Elite. That's it. So why is it not? Is it called Sniper Elite? Your new
It's called Sniper Elite. Yeah.
Ah, okay. I thought it was called Sniper, and I was wondering. I play a video game called Sniper Elite. I think I'm on like Sniper Elite 3 or something.
Oh yeah, so you've played it. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, I have.
Yep.
And so you were the guy who's supposed to take that video game and make it video game-ish on a board.
Yeah, I mean it's so I can give you the backstory how it came to be if you want. Yeah. So the guy who's running the board game division of Rebellion, his name is Duncan Malloy, and he was hired because he was the guy who stood up the board game division with Osprey. So, Osprey, huge, sells books.
Yeah, they're
whatever,
huge.
right? So 2013, 14-ish, they stood up their board game division, and Duncan's the guy who stood that up. And so when Rebellion wanted to expand into board games, he made obvious sense as a guy who could proven track record. Osprey puts out tons of games. So when he moved there, he was the one who signed Undaunted Normandy with Osprey. Okay. And so when he moved to Rebellion, he said, "Hey, I want to do a sniper elite game." And so he reached out to me to design it. So that's how that came about.
Now, the only other people I know, and it's by chance I found out, is two guys from Ubisoft who were on the development side creating Assassin's Creed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, the video game you're talking about.
The video game, right.
They did the video game.
And the guy's name is Thibault Latouane and Francis something, I don't know. But they were involved in the Assassin's Creed creation and all that. And they were, anyways, great artists. And they put out a game. They're putting out a game, Assassin's Creed. Now, they had experience in that world, in that Assassin's Creed and all that. Do you have experience in the, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Other than playing the video game, how are you connected? How did he come to say, "Hey, David Thompson," other than like going to foreheads?
So I think first of all, hey, thanks, James. That's awesome. I appreciate it. I think so. I don't want to speak for Duncan, but I'll give you what I think his thoughts were. Right. So if you look at Undaunted Normandy, is not a traditional war game, obviously, right? So I think what Duncan thought was, hey, Sniper Elite is ostensibly a World War II game, but it's not a World War II game like a board gamer would think, right? It's a video game. It's craziness. So I think he thought, how can I find a person who will take a World War II theme, translate it into a board game, but not try to do so in a way that's like a traditional World War II game. So I think that's what Duncan was thinking. Now, the truth of the matter is, and I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, I'm not a big video game guy, right? So when I'm doing my war games like Pavlov's House, Castle Lit, or whatever, there's like a year before I start the design that I'm doing research, right? So on this bookcase back here, I have like 400,000 books about, Italian human torpedo operators, because that's what I'm working on right now.
Right.
So I took the same approach with Sniper Elite. I mean, there's no books, but I mean, I went and got all the games and played through every single one of them. And I said, okay, how can I translate what's happening in the game into a board game that's fun, right? So that was the challenge.
And you know what? I'm trying to think how you're going to do that. How you going to do that?
Yeah. So have you played any hidden movement games like Scotland Yard or Spectre Ops or Fury of Dracula? Have you ever played any game like that?
No, but does this
So imagine a game where it's one player is controlling, in this case, controlling the sniper, and he's hidden, right? He's not on the board. He's got his own personal board, and he's secretly marking where he is. Okay, and then you have one or more other players playing the defenders. They can see the open board, and they're trying to figure out where he is, trying to deduce where he is.
Two-player game. This is not a solitaire game.
This is not solitaire. This is 2 to 4. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I don't know what I can say. So I know that solitaire games are popular. So
no,
I always take that.
Just say you can.
Yeah, but it's 2 to 4 players right now.
Okay. Obviously, Undaunted was out when this guy approached you, right? When Duncan approached you.
So I mean, it was it probably had not been released yet. I'm thinking back. It's probably right before it was released is when I started working on Sniper Elite.
So who recommended you, man?
Well, he did. He knew me because he's the one that signed Undaunted. He was at Osprey and he signed it. So we had worked together for years. So he knew me.
Yeah. So is this a different division, department of Osprey?
Well, Rebellion's its own thing. Rebellion's its entirely own
Right.
thing.
But I mean, Osprey sells books. That's what I'm known for. That's what I think. That's what I know them as.
Yeah. Oh, so you're talking about Undaunted.
No, I'm talking about Undaunted, but I'm talking
Undaunted.
about Duncan working. He works for Osprey, right?
He did. Now he works with Rebellion. Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a bit slow. Don't worry about it.
No, but when he was with Osprey, it was the Osprey Games division, and you know, Osprey puts out. They kind of have two parts of their games division. They have all of the rules manuals that go with their miniatures games. So like Frostgrave, I don't know if you've heard of that.
No.
They have an awesome game. It's like Car Wars, and I forget the name of it. Somebody will comment probably and tell me what it is, but it's great. But they have this division that's all about making rules for miniatures games, and they have a board games side. So that's the games division within Osprey. But that's where he was, and then he moved to Rebellion. And Rebellion's huge. They've got video games, they've got comic books, they've got a TV studio, they've got all sorts of.
What else did Rebellion do? Did they do?
Well, they've got. This is a lot
Rage?
of stuff.
Did they do Rage?
As far as video games go, I don't know.
I don't know. Rebellion, anyways.
Yeah, we'd have to look into all of their different IPs because I'll say something wrong and then.
Can you talk a bit more about the mechanics of a sniper?
Yeah, for sure. So it's called a hidden move. Oh, Frostgrave. Yep, Frostgrave and Gaslands. Gaslands is like the game that I badly want to play that I haven't played. It looks amazing. Right. Yeah. Okay. So Sniper Elite, it's called a hidden movement game, right? So it's kind of what I was describing before. You got one player who's doing everything on their own personal board. And so the most popular games like that, it's like I said, Fury of Dracula, Scotland Yard, I'm blanking on Letters to Whitechapel, those kind of games. And then, like I said, the other players, the defenders in this case, the German defenders, it's all about deduction. Hey, based on what the sniper player is doing, can we figure out where he is and then get to him and attack him? And so what I mean by that is there's mechanics in the game where the sniper can choose to sneak around and cause very little noise, but he's moving super slow and he's going to time crunch. Or he can run around, and if he does that and he's near a defender, they're going to hear him. By hearing him, they can kind of deduce where he is. The sniper, another one of the key mechanisms, because most hidden movement games, you're typically trying to stay hidden throughout if you're the sniper in this case. But obviously sniper is all about shooting. So there's this whole mechanism that we built where it's essentially this bag manipulation where you start with a certain number of hits, a certain number of misses, and a certain number of noise tokens in a bag. And when you take a shot, the further the shot is, the more likely you are to cause noise. But over the course of the game, if you get kills, you're adding more successes to the bag, or the defenders can add more noise, etc. So you have this manipulation of this bag, which is, kind of like a chit pull a little bit, where you're pulling tokens. So it's kind of the combination of those two things, balancing that bag manipulation for the sniper for the killing. All of the defenders have special powers, right, to make them unique. And then the hidden movement part, obviously, is the core.
Now, does the sniper is there a mechanic, for lack of a better word, Dave? Sorry.
Yeah.
Can the sniper sneak up to someone and?
Yeah. So kind of, right. So, and what I mean by that is, if the closer you are to somebody, the easier it is for you to kill them. The further away, you have to have more successes when you're pulling from that bag I mentioned. And the spaces are irregularly shaped spaces, but regardless, we have this interesting design to the way the board is constructed, where we're trying to get to this sort of elegant solution without any rules, where if it's a big open space, like a road, it's going to be a huge space. And that does two things. It allows the sniper to take really long shots because it only counts as one space he's shooting through. It's wide open, so it makes sense he could shoot through without any difficulty. But also that big space channels movement, meaning if I'm the sniper and I want to move through that open space, I'm going to be moving next to a lot of defenders. And inversely, if I'm the defenders, I can sit in this big open space and be close to a lot of things. So there's kind of a pluses and minuses. But my point was, if you're close to the defender, you only have to pull maybe one success token because you're right next to them. So you can only pull a few cubes, in which case you'll almost certainly not cause any noise. And you'll almost certainly be successful in killing the guy. So the closer you are, the less likely you are to cause noise, and the more likely you are to kill somebody. Does that make sense?
Yes. And now, how detailed are your long shots going to be? Are you going to pull like an ASL type thing where if the wind blows at 30, it's not going to be that?
No. So if you think about all the games I've made, I am a rules minimalist kind of guy first. Shorter games is the way I like it. So this game is co-designed with a guy named Roger Tankersley. It's his first game design, but he's been playtesting with me forever, and he's a huge fan of hidden movement games. So when I decided, hey, let's make this a hidden movement game, he was the natural guy to bring in for that. Well, he and I both love short, tense, elegant games. That's kind of like our shtick. So this game plays in like 30 to 60 minutes, and we try to abstract out a lot of what you're talking about in that bag manipulation system that we have.
How many scenarios approximately?
So it'll be on Kickstarter. The success it has on Kickstarter will drive how many different boards there are. The boards will be drastically different. There are going to be 9 objectives on each board, and each time you play, you'll play with 2 random objectives. So there's a ridiculous amount of variance in the setup. So it's not scenario driven. It's more about a variable setup.
Now your boards, Dave, you never thought about doing modular boards, like modular tiles?
Yeah, we did. So we absolutely thought about it. And basically, when it comes to a game where how do I say this? There's a ridiculous amount of math that goes into ensuring that the defenders don't start too close to one place or too close to another place, make sure the sniper's in the right position, etc. So to make the board lend itself to the variability we wanted for the objectives, it was basically a requirement that we used a static design board, like a fixed board. If we had done a modular board, we would have sacrificed a ton with regard to like the quality of the board design itself.
Yeah, I could see that. So James asks, when will it hit Kickstarter?
I think February, if it's on schedule. It's like next month.
And now you're saying that depending on how successful the Kickstarter is, these are going to be stretch goals, right? Extra boards and all that?
Yeah. Yep, I think that's right. So here's the difference, right? So when I'm working with like Dan with DVG, I'm working on the Kickstarter with him hand in hand. Rebellion has a team of people working on all of this stuff, right? So I'm less involved. I'm basically just doing the design. So I don't have nearly as much insider involvement on that part. So I can't speak definitively. I don't know exactly how they'll do it. Like it could potentially be an expansion add-on or something, but certainly the better it does, the more content it will unlock for people.
Okay, I'm just writing to Todd. It's a Sniper Elite we're talking about.
Yeah.
So you said in February, so the game's finished.
So the design is done. The core design is done. If it's popular enough, we'll design more content for it. There is a pretty big delta between when it's finished and when it's going to deliver. Like I think they're talking the end of 2020 or very beginning of 2021. So we have plenty of time to do more design work. What we won't do is we will not go down that path of like, oh crap, we have stretch goals and we need to make up content and we'll just hammer it out and not test it, right? So we've got a ridiculous amount of content already designed. But in the event that we needed to, we have tons of time to work on more.
I guess. I mean, I don't know how long it took. And it's going to be printed in China?
I think the answer is yes, because at least some of it, because it's going to have miniatures, and the miniatures will almost certainly be made in China, right?
Right.
I don't know about the rest of the components, but I mean, we're talking a full year between when the Kickstarter runs versus when it's delivered. So
I know, and the reason why I asked that is because other publishers are having a lot of delays.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. So the good thing is having Duncan, who's so knowledgeable from his time in Osprey. For the last, 6 months, he's been working through all of the different contingency plans based on whether or not sanctions went through and et cetera, right? So he's kind of got multiple plans in place, I think, based on all the different potential impacts.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope it goes well.
Yeah.
because I want the game, obviously.
Yeah.
What are you having there?
I'm a super, so it's Scotch, and I am a super peaty guy, right? So this is Lefroy. It was either Lefroy or
Which Lefroy?
Triple Wood, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's good.
I had to. I'm drinking water now, believe it or not, and it's because for some reason my blood pressure shot up like crazy. And I said, "Man, I gotta take it easy." So I'm drinking water, and my blood pressure is still up. So I don't know what's up, anyways.
So you might as well go back to Scotch.
Don't say that, because anyways, whatever. But by the way, I'm not a peaty guy. I used to be wicked peaty. Lefroy used to be my drink of choice, but I've become sweeter as I got older, and I'm into sherry now. The sherry, the sherry barrels and all that. You know, the port barrels. We just tried a Macallan. Oh my God, I forget the name of it, but the bottle was $400.
Whoa!
It was beautiful.
Whoa!
But it wasn't old. It was like maybe 15, 17 years old. But one of my buddies bought a bottle, whatever, you know, and he wanted to have a Scotch tasting evening, and he brought that bottle, and it's like, that was some of the best Scotch I've ever had in my life.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Anyways, it's about you, not about me.
No, that's good, man. That's good.
So Sniper Elite, okay. Hold on. I have any other questions on Sniper Elite? Sniper Elite. No, I guess not. Do you have anything else to say on Sniper Elite, David?
What can I say?
Like how big is this box going to be? A 2-inch, 3-inch box?
Probably 2. Probably.
2-inch box? Is it going to be undaunted size?
No, it'll be bigger than that. It'll probably be. I'm looking up what I've got. Maybe like a DVG size box, I would think. Their standard size.
Okay. So I have
or maybe like a one of the generic Euro square boxes. You know what I mean? Like a I don't know. Like a Catan or a generic squared off Euro, something like that.
Okay, so do you know itinerant hobbyist Todd? David?
What's that?
Do you know itinerant hobbyist Todd?
No, I don't. No.
You probably do. He tells me, man, $400, your channel's doing well. Misunderstood. It's my friend. Okay, so what happened with DVG's game? The white box, black writing. I forget.
Oh yeah, For What Remains.
What's going on?
Right. So I've got all the proofs. I just finished the proofs a couple of nights ago, and they're all good. So they should be hitting like literally the print button right now. So
this is gonna be a Kickstarter, is that right?
It already. Yeah, I mean it funded. Right. Yeah. No, it funded. I don't know, like 4 months ago, maybe something like that. Obviously towards the middle or like October something maybe.
Okay, I'm just writing down things I'm trying to remember here.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is a miniatures game too, right?
It's a counters. I mean, so it's basically like a light war game, skirmish, sci-fi game. So it's counters. It's not minis. And you're probably thinking of his game that Dan was working on called
Valkyrie. Right.
Valkyrie, yeah.
What happened with that game, man?
I'm not sure.
He's put so much work into that.
I know it sucks. I think okay, this is my guess, right? I think that it just didn't have the crossover appeal. Like instead of appealing to both war gamers and minis gamers, it wasn't appealing enough to both to either of those crowds, maybe, or something. I'm not sure. It's hard to guess, man. Because you see games on there that do so well. There was also some other games that were running at the same time as that Kickstarter that maybe had drawn too much interest or whatever.
I don't know why that's not taken off.
Right. I know. I'm with you, man. Absolutely
it's
with
huge.
you.
It's huge.
I know. It's a shame because it looked amazing.
So you know what, David? Since I got you on the line here, Undaunted. did you expect this success?
Well, it's funny because the comment I just made, right? That it's like it's not a minis game and not a war game. So, like with regard to Valkyrie.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about Undaunted. I know you and I talked about it a little bit in the past, but so I've told you this. That 2014-ish or so, I'm designing it, and it's dedicated to my grandfather, right? Like it's based on his unit. So I went and did all the research and stuff. And my biggest concern about this game, as far as like whether or not it would be successful, is that basically nobody is going to like it, right? Because it's not a war game and it's not a Euro game. It's a game for nobody, and then nobody will like it. So now, obviously, I have this massive imposter syndrome thing, right? Like I don't feel like every time I make a game, I'm like, oh, nobody's going to like it. They're going to find all the problems with it, etc.
You're an artist.
So it's absolutely, yeah. I had no idea it would do well. So it's good. I mean, I'm super happy, right? It opens up a lot of doors for some other expansion or sequels.
And that's what I was going to say. Now you have the Africa. Are you going to have like a Stalingrad or a Barbarossa parts 1 to 10?
So there's 2 things I can tell you for a fact. Well, 3 things I can tell you for a fact. North Africa's coming out in May, right? I can tell you that for a fact. I can tell you that if I was to tell you anything after North Africa, I would get in a ton of trouble. And I can tell you that if people buy Undaunted, we'll keep making Undaunted, right? So I mean, there are tons and tons, and there's endless ideas about where we could take this.
Dave, you could talk. You're amongst family here. No one's going to say anything. No, but that's great, and I'm really happy because I spoke with Kevin, and I speak with a lot of people, not live like that, and because I do the Dice Tower channel, I'm trying to. Hey guys at the Dice Tower, look, there's war games and you can have fun but that stigma, war games. We don't want to play any war games. But little do they know that some of the Euro games they're playing are backstabbing and you gotta kill and you gotta take over. Hey, it's war, man. But anyway,
yep.
And I'm glad designers like you do because I find it's like a crossover type game, and it's appealing to Euro gamers, and I think that's just fantastic. I mean, Mark Herman applauds stuff like that, man. I mean, what else?
Well, those are my favorite kind of games, right? My favorite type of games to play are I've got two types, right? The really really short, tense, political or historical games like 13 Days, Watergate. Those are my absolute favorite. And then along with that are Waros, War Game Euro combos, right? 2 Acres of Snow, and I mean those are my favorite kind of games. So it shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody that I'm trying to design stuff like Undaunted Normandy, right? That has sort of crossover.
Would you consider Uva's games, Academy Games, Waros? Would you consider that?
I think so. I mean, it probably I don't know what you call them, right? Whatever you call them, I think they're introductory war games. I think they're awesome. I have every one of them. Right?
They're abstract, though.
To super abstract.
Yeah, compared to what we're used to playing, like Hex Encounter stuff,
Yep. Yeah, but I love them. I think that the Birth of America series and I think that Quartermaster General are both awesome series that anybody can play, and it can get people into more wargaming for sure.
It's funny you say Quartermaster General because a lot of people laugh at that because it's so ridiculously simple, but Mark Herman's like, I love the game, man.
It's awesome
because it is simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, and how many games can you play? So you can sit down with 6 people, play a team game. It's over in an hour and a half. It's just I love it.
No, seriously, I think you've given me some ideas that. I did it on the Dice Tower. I'm gonna do it again because I gotta push those guys. Like, come on, man. You know. Look what's on. Do you think Undaunted system would work for early war? I think so.
I think so. Somebody else asked that question, and I forget where they asked it, where I was talking about this. Maybe it was on BGG or Facebook or something. It's not just like port the system over, right? Because if you played Undaunted, you know that like very specifically every guy, even though it's an abstract game, everybody has actions that are unique to them and they make sense for their role. So if it's, you can't just reskin it, retheme it, but the core of the system I think makes a lot of sense, right? So as long as when people say, "Hey, do you think Undaunted will work with like early war?" Yeah, I think the core would work, but you would have to take quite a bit of time, kind of rebuilding it from the ground up.
Yeah, but that's your job, man.
Yeah.
We'll just throw money at you, David. That's all. Now, in your Africa thing, obviously there's going to be Italians, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's Bersaglieri, is that right?
Yep, that's right. So the Italians have to kind of like, if you look at Undaunted Normandy, a lot of people are upset that, rightly, I understand this critique, that the U.S. and the German sides are symmetric. The actual units themselves are symmetric, right? All the asymmetry in the game comes from the scenario design and all of that. So there's a lot of pushback on that, understandably. The problem I had with let's say hypothetically we wanted to have designed them asymmetrically. What we did was we designed the U.S. rifle platoon, and then we just kind of, we mirrored the Germans off of that. Okay, it's not realistic, but the problem we have with the Germans is throughout the course of the scenarios in Undaunted Normandy, the Germans are SS, they're Wehrmacht, they're remnants, they're all sorts of things. So to say like, hey, design a generic, German platoon, there's no such thing in the. And so we kind of have the same problem in North Africa, where the game focuses on the long-range desert group for the Commonwealth side. So on the Italian side, they wind up being the Otto Sahara Company, right, which is kind of Italy's version of the long-range desert group in some scenarios, and in some scenarios they're regular Italians. So they kind of pull double duty again by necessity.
Are you going to be close to Tobruk? Is there going to be any ports, any water, any battleship?
No, it's well, yeah. Without getting into too much detail, it's almost all, because the long range desert group was almost exclusively operating behind enemy lines in the open desert, wide open desert, right? Okay. So most of the scenarios are focused on like open desert areas. There is some hit and run, or like they call like hit and run tactics kind of stuff, where it's like around an airfield, that kind of scenario. But I think only one, Bars, I think, is near, like really close to water, but the water doesn't play a role in it.
Now, you said hit and run. The Desert Rats, yes, no?
Kind of. So SAS, so a lot of people conflate the SAS and the long range desert group, and they're two different things. So the SAS was more about actually what people think of as like actually going and blowing stuff up. The long-range desert group was technically more of like, their job was more getting people to the fight, oftentimes the SAS, or operating behind enemy lines for reconnaissance or whatever. Now, from a practical perspective, like me going and operating, but like going behind enemy lines secretly and sitting there and watching a highway for 3 days straight, which is what they oftentimes would do, stuff like that. That's not a fun game to play. So from an Undaunted perspective, it's closer to SAS, like blowing stuff up.
And are you thinking of doing, because there's a million things you could do with this, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of creating another Undaunted West Front?
We're going back to Undaunted Normandy, right?
Are we going deeper now? You know what I'm saying?
I can't talk about that.
Okay, so
you can ask me any questions you want about anything I do with DVG, because I can tell you anything I want about that stuff.
No, I want to talk about Osprey.
When it comes to Osprey.
And so you know what, people, that's a yes. That's a yes. If you just want to talk, you want to take the fifth, that's a yes. But anyways, that's cool. So I guess we'll stop with Osprey, but that's so cool, man, because Nijmegen Bridge, Pegasus Bridge. Just send me some cash and I'll send you some ideas, Dave.
Yep. So one of the limiting factors we had, obviously, with Normandy is that I did base everything on the 30th Infantry Division. So every single scenario is based on an actual fight. So you can't, you can only do what they actually did, right? And so we're a little bit hamstrung by choice, I guess. But
okay.
But now, if we said, "Hey, let's go back to Normandy," but we're not doing the 30th, then it's wide open, whatever you want to do.
Man, you could pull a Band of Brothers.
Yeah, right.
And you got already eight expansions happening right there.
Yeah.
Hire me as a consultant. I'm cheap. Okay, let's talk a little bit about DVG. Like, was that your first gig, DVG?
No. So the first game I ever designed was called Armageddon. It was a post-apocalyptic themed heavy Euro, and that was with Queen. You know Queen, what they do? They do a lot of when they're Euro. They are a German publisher. They do Euros.
No,
That's
I
their
don't. Sorry,
thing.
I don't know them.
Probably like their biggest game, like Chicago Express. I don't know. So that was the first one. I think technically my second game was a game called Orklympics, which is like a really light little card drafting game. That probably came out at the same time as Pavlov's House. But then Pavlov's House obviously was, I think, the third game I designed. About the same time as War Chest came out. So they were all hitting around the same time.
So what made you go Euro first?
I was trying. So now the sequences of what got published was different than the sequence of what I started designing first.
I see.
Right. So the first game I ever designed was For What Remains, which isn't even out yet. Right. It's coming out soon with DVG. So it was For What Remains, and then I was working on what came to be Undaunted. So Armageddon, I got involved with when I moved. When I was living in the UK, I met with a co-designer named Chris Marling, who's he's a Euro guy, and so we talked about, hey, I'm a big post-apocalyptic guy. I like the theme, and he had a sort of an idea, so we just teamed up together for that one. But it's by far the heaviest game I've designed.
Here's a good question: what age groups do you consider when you design a game? Do you have that in mind?
Yeah. I don't set out like I'm going to design for a specific age group, but because, I mean, it depends on the game, right? So like if I'm designing Castle Itter or Pavlov's House, I don't really limit the design based on an age, but I do always try to make the game as straightforward as possible, which lends itself to a younger age, right? War Chest, which is my most popular game by far, my 5-year-old plays with me. My 5-year-old, 8-year-old, and 10-year-old. Right now, they don't get the full strategy necessarily, but they can play it. So, as long as I'm designing for the sensibilities that I prefer, which is try to be as straightforward as possible, you can get games like Undaunted that's playable with a 10-year-old, right, or War Chest with an 8-year-old. But I've never set out to say I'm gonna specifically design for kids necessarily.
Now, do you design for you, or do you design for the company?
I used to like really think a lot about trying to design a game to like be successful. I guess I don't know how to say it. Like I used to design more with not myself in mind. For sure, when I design the DVG games that I do, so Pavlov's House, Castle Itter, Soldiers and Postmen's Uniforms, By Stealth and Sea, those games, I don't like. I'll ask people, hey, what are you interested in? Is that like to generate ideas potentially? But I have to be super, super, super passionate about, because I know that I'm going to live that game for 2 years.
I understand that. I understand.
So, I mean, Undaunted, of course, was from like a personal perspective probably the closest to me, just because of my, the background of how it came to be.
Right.
So yeah, at this point now, I don't have enough. So how do I say this? I don't have enough time to work on all the games that I could work on if I was given the opportunity, right? So I'm in a really good position where I'm being offered commissions and stuff to do stuff that I have to turn down now. So I can be picky and choosy about what I want to work on, and what I want to work on is I'm not doing this as my job. So I just want to do this. I just want to work on stuff that I enjoy now.
I know. And I mean, look, you can probably spend the rest of your life doing Undaunted stuff.
Sure, yeah.
That's just and I'm just thinking World War II.
You're right. Yeah, right.
Could you imagine like the modern wars and this and that and that? Hey.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave, because we did this impromptu, so I didn't have time to write down.
Sure, yeah.
All that. What other games do you have
that are coming out?
That are coming out after Sniper Elite? What's in your head?
Okay, yeah. So let's talk about what's not out yet, right? So what's coming out? So For What Remains is coming out. Like I said, I just proofed it. So it'll be within the next few months, right? By Stealth and Sea is going to be on Kickstarter next month.
Okay.
That's the next DVG game. That's the first game.
That's a DVG game. Okay.
That's DVG. Yep. That's
So
the first.
we're gonna have tons and tons of stretch goals with that. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, we have to. So this is a game where, we've talked about it before. Italian human torpedo operators attacking the Royal Navy primarily, right? The Allied ports, so Gibraltar, Alexandria, and Algiers. But this is why I say it has to have stretch goals. Most of the missions happen in Gibraltar, so I can make a Gibraltar board and account for 66 or whatever % of the missions. The only way we could pull off making 3 different boards for this game is through Kickstarter. Because if I say, hey, I'm going to make a game and I'm going to have 3 boards, well, the most expensive part of the game is the box, and the second most expensive part is the board. So
now that game, I just watched a documentary on that. It just happened to be on, and I know they did a lot of missions. These frogs did a lot, but they weren't. I mean, they weren't batting 1,000. That's for sure. They were like, what? How many things did they blow up? 4?
Well, okay, here's the thing. How do you measure, let me ask you this, how do you measure success? Because if I told you I can have 3 frogmen ride 3 or 6 frogmen ride 3 torpedoes, okay, so, very, very minor material investment, and they can attack Gibraltar, even if they're not successful, the British now spend a ridiculous amount of time, effort, money, investment in defending it.
Yeah.
So it's a hugely disproportionate investment on the British side. So even had they never been successful, but the one time that they were ridiculously successful, they put 2 battleships out of action.
I know, that's wicked.
2 battleships, right?
And that's what, 2 guys, 4 guys?
Yeah, right. Yeah. 4 guys, 2 torpedoes took out 2 battleships, basically. Battleships. So I mean,
yeah, I know.
You can bat 100 when you hit the 100. It's like a grand slam to win the World Series, right?
Now, what mechanics will you have in there? Obviously, are you gonna have any training mechanics?
Yeah. So this is the first. Let me think about this. Is this true? Yeah, it's kind of the first game that I've designed that has like a campaign system to it, right? So what you can do is you can get if your operators return from the mission, they're going to build up their skills, right? And then there's this whole system of investing the victory points that you earn into improving your technical capabilities. So you're improving the breathing equipment, the wetsuits, the actual torpedo itself. You can change where your operators are forward positioned. And so what I mean by that is when they first did the attacks, they would take the operators and they would bring them the entire way on this like 2-week journey via sub. And so they'd be exhausted when they get there, right? So they started forward position. They would put them in places that were much closer to the target.
Right.
So they pick them up. So those kind of like strategic investments you can make in the course of the game. So on the flip side, the more successful you are in the game, the better the British defenses get because they're more concerned about what you're doing. And I modeled all of those on both sides, the technological advancements and the British defenses off of what actually happened in the real world.
Now, will your upgrades go up to that ship that was a ruse, and inside the hull they had the submarines, the torpedoes, I mean?
Now you talk about the Altera, where they actually based out of.
Little door would open and they come out.
Yeah. Yep. So in the game, you can get. I think what you're talking about. There's they had the way in which they mask like the carrier subs and stuff, but there's a ship called the Altera which had been scuttled and was in the Gibraltar Bay.
That's right.
So you can get that in the game. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
And you should, because if you do, you get all sorts of benefits from having it. Right.
Okay. So
yeah. So for the people that don't know the story, just real quick. So there's a ship that was scuttled at the beginning of the war. It was left across the bay from Gibraltar, and the Italians used it about halfway through their missions. They took it, they turned it into a secret base. They would take the crew and the human torpedoes. They would prepare everything there, so they no longer had to sneak inside Gibraltar Bay with a sub to make their attacks. They could just do it from the bay itself.
And this is a solo game, is that right?
So you can play it cooperatively, right? Because you can have other people there, because you're controlling 3 of the SLCs, or the human torpedoes. But regardless of whether you play with 1 to 3 players, the rules are exactly the same.
Okay, so
it's a solo game, right? You can just play with more people, taking control of the other human torpedoes if you want.
okay. So before answering this question, do you generally look for? This is Nathaniel Robinson asking this. Do you generally look for innovative mechanics that are not in typical war games?
So I would say, so for people who, I did not start playing board games until 2010. And I didn't start playing war games until about 2014 or 2015. I have not played a ton. I mean, I've played some traditional hex and counter games for sure, right? But I'm not a hex and counter. I did not grow up on them. And so I think that for that reason, that's why you see like Pavlov's House doesn't play like, there's some SOS, like States of Siege stuff that's kind of superficially similar. But I think that's why a lot of my games have very different mechanisms from other war games, because I don't draw necessarily from that same place. So I don't know if I'd call it innovative. I think that maybe I just draw inspiration from a broad, brush or whatever of
which you know what, I think you have to do that. You have to do that. I keep asking people, is the Grognard dead? Is the Grognard
dead? Well, definitely. So this is what I will, because do you know about what Marco said about Undaunted and then Bruce Garrick's reply? Were you tracking on that whole
say that
exchange? Again. So Marco, right? Marco Wargamer, who's now Marco Omnigamer, right?
Yeah.
So he did the review for Undaunted, and he was like, "Hey, this is the future of wargaming, and war games are going to die, et cetera, et cetera."
Yeah.
So I was like, he was glowing review of Undaunted. I was like, Marco, I love you. I wish you hadn't said that because there's going to be some backlash.
And Bruce.
And then Bruce, yeah. And then what Bruce said. And so, first of all, like I have a man crush on both of these guys, right? Like I love both of these guys. So I'm like, guys, let's find a different game to talk about other than Undaunted. But and thank God, like when I saw Bruce's, like I wait for every episode of Wild Weasel, like I'm on bated breath, right?
Yeah, me too.
And so when I saw it came out, and then when I saw what somebody had said, like, he's replying to Marco about Undaunted, I was like, oh God, if Bruce. Like Undaunted's not kind of Bruce's game. Like he likes deep stuff, right?
Well, he does play Euros, eh?
So maybe I can convince him to try it. But I was like, oh God, if he doesn't like it, man, it's gonna crush me, right? My spirit will be destroyed. So anyway, the bottom line is there's been this huge debate about the Grognard dying and Undaunted and blah blah blah. And I think it's just BS. Like clearly, we might not be in the golden age as far as sales go, but good Lord, man, name a subject. And there's going to be 10 war games on it.
And awesome.
Right. Yeah. Like why we don't even need to have this debate. Right? Like there's enough to go around that whatever style of war game you want, it's out there.
Were you surprised when Bruce let out what he let out?
Yeah, that was crazy. That was quite the rant. That was awesome.
What did he say?
We can't repeat it.
And the thing is that Bruce, he's not monotone, but he's diplomatic. He's he's intimidating, for God's sakes. Anyways,
yep.
I couldn't believe when he said that. I asked Stuka Joe. I said, "Hey, did you just listen to Wild Weasel, man?" No, I didn't. I think you should right now.
Yeah, skip ahead.
Oh, that was too cool. Give me some other subjects, Dave. The other games.
Okay. So we got sidetracked on By Stealth and Sea. So it'll be For What Remains. By Stealth and Sea will hit Kickstarter about the same time, maybe the same time as Sniper Elite. There's a new expansion for War Chest coming out. So this is cool. They're going to have a 64-person tournament of War Chest at Gen Con this year. So that's cool. So they'll run a War Chest tournament. We already talked about Undaunted North Africa coming out in May. And then it starts to get in the realm of stuff that I can't... Soldiers and Postmen's Uniforms, right? So that'll be the next game in the Valiant Defense series. So Pavlov's House, Castle Litter. So we've got Soldiers and Postmen's Uniforms. Now,
that's a title of a game?
Yep. Yeah. So
like a Costner movie or something.
I know. So we've never talked about this one? I can't remember. So. Okay. So... Here's the background. So first day of World War II, right? For us Westerners, right? So September 1st, 1939. Germany's going into Poland, right? They're attacking Danzig, right? So the free city of Danzig.
Right.
So Free City of Danzig, a lot of German influence, a lot of Polish influence. There's some parts of Danzig that, while it was a free city, were controlled by the Polish, right? They were Polish territory. One of those things were the post offices. So if you're in a post office, right, it's Polish territory. So this game is about the attack by its SS, SA, and Danzig City Police against the Polish post office in the Free City of Danzig, first day of World War II. So it's this amazing story about them holding out against ridiculous odds. And
I thought they did something with a radio station. That was the beginning of World War II, wasn't it? Or they faked that a German soldier was killed by a Polish soldier at a radio station or a post. No,
maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Doesn't matter. Did I just mess up your game?
No. Because it's just the first day. Because there's tons of other stuff. The Westerplatte, like all of Poland was under attack on that day. I'm trying to think. It sounds like what was happening with the Soviet invasion, but I don't know. So maybe somebody can correct us.
Yeah, Harold says something good here, and he's right. He's right. Why spend any energy on a definition?
Amen, brother. Just play what's fun.
I get so engrossed. It's like, anyways, yeah, he's right. He's right.
Yep. Yeah. So that'll be the next game in the DVG series, right? So this was one I've been working on for a really, really, really long time because it keeps getting put on the back burner. Something else comes up that I have to knock out first. But I should be finished with it this summer.
Now, what's your future plans in games? What's a topic you're gonna gamify?
So the thing I would really like to do in that series, there's a couple of topics that I would personally really want to do. One is the defense of the Hill 314 in the Battle of Mortain. So that's just an amazing story. I want to do that. One is the Siege of Jodetville. Do you know that?
There's a Netflix something.
The Netflix movie. Yeah. Have you seen it?
No.
So it's amazing. You should definitely we should just stop right now and we should just go watch that. So Siege of Jodetville. I'd also like to do Free State of Jones, which also, that's the movie, right? It's an amazing movie, but you should check that out too. Those are the topics that I think the game series would lend itself well to outside of World War II, those last two.
Okay.
That are like things that I really think are cool, cinematic, topics. Okay. Now, the series that I want to do that I haven't actually started work on, and I don't know when I'm going to get time to do this, but it's what I'm really passionate about, is I want to do like a Women of World War II series of games. So it could be Soviet, AAA operators, or so the women who flew the bombers, the Night Witches. And there's all sorts of different roles that women played throughout World War II that I think would make really cool games. Well,
I mean, first of all, you're teaching me a lot of history by all this stuff, because Castle Itter, I had no idea. It's funny. At Pavlov's house, that's a famous propaganda thing that the USSR at that time. But I don't know. And I mean, women in war. My God, if you go snipers in Russia,
I know. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, women in war. You were talking about suffragette something. Remember you were talking about a suffragette game?
Yeah, so I'm hoping I have time. There's some potential. And we can't get into details here right now, but there's some potential to work on that as a topic. So we'll see. We'll see.
I mean, you're no fun. You're like a hard date, man. You don't tell anyways.
Don't get me in trouble.
No, I guess I don't know. I guess you got things you can't talk about. I remember asking the only time I met Mark Herman, and I knew he had worked for the Pentagon, and I was all excited, and I said, Mark, can I ask you questions about the Pentagon? He goes, sure, you can ask me anything. I'm just not going to tell you anything.
Yeah.
So, anyways, if you got anything else, Dave, that you want to bring up?
Oh man, we have talked about a lot. So, yeah. Oh no, I have Oh my gosh, I have the super important thing I need to talk about. So I don't have any details really now. We'll just tease it, right? But the insurgency meetup at Gen Con that I mentioned to you.
I know, and I wanted to do something with Harold. But
I know.
He told me? You know what he told me?
What did he tell you?
He told me because I Twittered him and I said, "Hey, Harold, you sure you're out tonight?" And he says, "Maybe later. I'm watching football."
So you got to have priorities.
Well, I respect a man who watches football, I guess.
The important game's already over. Kansas City and Tennessee was the game that was important to me because I didn't really – I want either of those to win the Super Bowl. So as long as one of the two, and Kansas City won. So as long as they go on to win the Super Bowl, I'm happy.
I've got about 15 more minutes left, and it's Harold. Harold, do you want to come on? It's halftime now, he's telling me. Look at this guy. This guy's a killer. He's a killer. He kills me. Harold, you want to come on for a few minutes? Here, let me send you. I'll send you an invite.
He's the brainchild. This is his thing, right?
I know, but he wants to watch football.
I know. I know. He just got me involved for my good looks. He's the brains of the operation.
Good looks. There you go. Okay, so Harold, I just sent you a link. It's up to you now. So talk about the insurgency.
Yeah. So last year, Harold and our grognards, Grant and Alexander, put together the first insurgency at Gen Con, right? So war game meetup. It was really well attended, especially for they didn't have a lot of lead time in prepping for it. So
now, how many people at Gen Con?
I think 60-ish, maybe something like that, right? With not a whole lot of lead time effort on those guys. I know they hit their social media up pretty hard, in the days leading up.
I'm talking about what's up the population of Gen.
Oh, Gen Con. Oh, yeah. Dude, it's 100,000. I don't know.
100,000.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. 90,000 something. It's insane. It takes over the city.
And this is in Maryland, right?
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis.
Yep.
Oh my God.
So if you are a war gamer,
yes,
you think about, hey, I'd like to maybe go to Gen Con, but it doesn't have as much wargaming as it used to or whatever. That's our goal, is to change that, right? Bring wargaming back to Gen Con.
People, which is more than they've had in in the past years, man.
Right. Yep. So that's our goal, is to try to start building that up, right? And so this is Harold's baby. He's the one leading the pack, but Grant, Alexander, myself, other folks are trying to help him out.
Oh, Harold's leading the pack. Hey, this is how he's leading the pack. Hold on a second. Hold on. Where is he? My God.
So there we go. 70,000 unique attendees. And I think it's probably at max capacity.
This is Harold leading the pack right now.
You got to have priorities, man.
Yeah, I swear, man. I swear. So the insurgency thing,
yep.
We should hype this up a little bit more, eh?
So yeah, I think what we should do, this is my proposal, right, is that between now and Gen Con, right, so August, we periodically meet up with you. It can be Harold, myself, Grant, Alexander, some of the other guys, and we just talk about it, talk it up on the between now and then.
If you want to do it, let me know. We'll see if Harold wants to come on.
Oh my goodness, this is awesome.
Now, maybe we have to pay him or something.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, no. Let's hype it up, and I'd like to know what's happening, how many people are going to be there.
Yeah.
What games are going to be played? What games were played last time?
So last time we had so first of all, some people that came, right? So Jeff Engelstein was demoing his Versailles game that's coming up, right? That was cool. I had some prototype stuff there, and I had some stuff that just come out. Obviously, Harold had his stuff. It was a wide range, right? Everything from the lighter stuff that I do all the way up to, well, obviously we had coin games going. We had heavy games. The Player's Aid guys were in some really heavy stuff. So full gamut of if it's war game, if it's even tangentially a war game, right? The broadest possible definition, then it's super welcome there. We're going to try to have as many events as possible. So we're going to try to schedule events throughout all 4 days. So Thursday through Sunday. I think we're going to have, if you can think about it, it should be there. And we're going to try our best to have the opportunities to open gaming too.
Like where does this library of game come from?
So I think, well, there is the Gen Con library, which we were in their spaces last time, but it's not that well equipped with the kind of games we care about.
No.
So pretty much everybody brought stuff, right?
Okay.
I will say that Harold and Grant and Alexander and all brought some prize games with them, right? But they also brought a bunch of other stuff. So we had quite a good mix. But again, we were largely relying on people who had themselves set up, via Board Game Geek on a geek list.
Right.
Some games. So it was very homegrown. And so we're trying to do a lot more organization this time.
Well, it was the first time, man.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yep.
And you had good company support?
We had some. I can't speak to this. Harold would have to tell you who all gave him prize support, but it was quite a few. But many companies weren't even approached about it, and so this time we'll be.
I'm sure there's going to be
more. There's going to be a lot more. Yeah,
more and more.
Yep.
I think but isn't there a conflict in time with WBC and this?
Yeah. So, but WBC is 100% overlapping with Gen Con this year. So
doesn't that happen all the time?
I don't know. I don't know how often it is, but I know it's not happening again for the next few years at least. So this is the last time we'll have to worry about it for the foreseeable future.
Okay, that's cool. Because I wouldn't mind attending Gen Con at all. You know what I mean? Especially this insurgency thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And where were you guys stationed? You were in some sort of auditorium, or?
So we were in the Lucas Oil Stadium, which is what the Indianapolis Colts, the NFL football team here, plays in. So we're inside actually on the field.
Just you guys.
What's that?
It was just you guys, or
no. So it was tons of not open gaming, like clubs and stuff, game clubs. I don't know exactly how you got down there. Like people who had organized gaming stuff there, and the Gen Con open gaming library was there. So it was the entire football field was taken up by gamers, and just a little small section of that was us.
Okay, well, that's cool. Were you approached by the organizers of Gen Con at any time or something? Did somebody approach you and say...
Oh, so they had organized it with the library. It was all on the up and up as far as like, hey, we're gonna be inside the library, and they sold library tickets to access the War Game meetup. So if somebody wanted to come and play as part of the insurgency, they would just buy like a generic library ticket, go inside the library, and then they could play with us.
Okay, are they going to advertise this more?
Yeah.
Gen Con?
I don't know if Gen Con will. I mean, we certainly will, right? I think we're just going to keep it to our social media, our methods of advertising it, right? Not kind of try to get too crazy, because none of us are making any money off of it.
No, so. I understand. And look, if I can help, please just let me know, eh?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because this is a lot of fun, man.
Yeah. You know? Oh yeah. No, it's exciting. Yeah.
Well, Dave, thanks for being on. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say?
That was the big one. I mean, unless there's any other questions about anything I can answer, but I think we covered everything.
It's a big one. I think we'll follow up on this insurgency thing, and hopefully we'll have Harold on. And maybe Grant and Alexander. I know they're a little bit occupied at this time.
Yeah.
But Dave,
so did you see what Harold said? So GMT, C3I, Decision, Revolution. Yeah. So that's cool. So they had a lot of goods, and we'll have more. So
absolutely. I mean, you know what? Just having this is fantastic.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And was Tom Russell there?
I'm sure I don't know. I don't know if he was or not. He wasn't at Insurgency, no.
He wasn't, eh?
Yeah, so I don't know if he was at Gen Con proper, but he wasn't at Insurgency.
How far is Detroit from
man. You're gonna make me fail my geography.
Okay, let's forget
I don't know. Not super close. But I don't know.
I was gonna ask you a geography question on Canada, but forget it.
It's up north.
It's up north.
It's up north.
You know something? I'll tell you a story. There's a big snowstorm happening in Newfoundland. Newfoundland is West Coast.
Right.
It's called the Rock, right?
Right.
Beautiful people, and everything is shut down. All the roads are shut down, and my mother-in-law just called my wife and said, "Could you believe it? This woman, she was in labor. She got on her skidoo and booted all the way to the hospital on a skidoo." Now that's Canadian, my friend. That's Canadian. Dave, thanks for being on. This is a lot.
Yeah, this is great, man. Yeah.
Don't go. I'm going to play my outro, and life is going to be good. People, thank you very much. Harold, I've got nothing to say to you. And hopefully I'll see you soon. Thanks, people.